So I very rarely go live on videos. For those of you who know me, at the end of the day, I believe social media is a tool, right? Like some of us be going too hard in the paint on social media, and we literally try to curate like these arterial lives, and that's just never been my thing, right? But I do believe in the power of social media to reach and touch people. I believe it's a way to advertise, promote what you're doing in real life, and to create relationships and to create traction and to just let more people know, right? Get more eyeballs on whatever that gift or that power that you're sharing with the world is, right? And I was having a discussion with a good friend of mine that I thought needed to be shared, right? And the discussion we had was the fact that he was going through feelings of depression. He was feeling some kind of way about his business. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you too. He was feeling some kind of way about his business. He was feeling some kind of way about his relationships with his children, feeling some kind of way about the relationship with his family. And he shared with me that he felt like he was a loser. And, I know this gentleman. He has a great heart, has helped a lot of individuals in business, helped a lot of people in life. He's one of those individuals that, quite frankly, you want in your corner because he'll give you the shirt off his back. And, after listening to him and chatting with him for about an hour, I said to myself, I got to air this out, right? I got to have a conversation with the people about this. And the conversation I want to have is that too many of us are allowing the stage hands in our life to take center stage. And what do I mean by that, right? When you're an entrepreneur, particularly when you're first starting out, but it doesn't have to be an entrepreneur endeavor. Whenever you're getting ready to start anything new and anything that's big, right? Anything that's going to have a lasting impact in your life, it's going to change you. It's going to shape you, right? It's no different than someone that starts a boxing career or a basketball career or a swimming career or a bobsledding career. Anyone who's done athletics, you know that the type of workouts you do shape you, right? That's why swimmers have different bodies than boxers. That's why boxers have different bodies than basketball players. That's why football players have different bodies than tennis players, right? Because the practice, the doing the work shapes you. And so does entrepreneurship and all the important things or important decisions that you make in life, right? And you start to learn very early on that your family and friends are not always going to be supportive of what it is that you're doing. And look, don't take it personal. Don't get upset. It's just human nature. The bottom line is, in the beginning of any entrepreneurial endeavor specifically, when you're first starting out, you begin to realize right away, in order for you to live your best life, you got to start making different decisions. You got to start having different conversations. You got to prioritize your life differently. You got to invest your time doing different things, right? If you're going to live your best life. Because the decisions and the time or the way that you spent your time have brought you to the place where you're at now, right? You made an appointment to be where you're at right now. And so if you want to change that appointment, you got to change how you go about carrying yourself, the people you hang around, how you spend your time, the stuff that you invest in, the stuff that you talk about, the things and the people whom you let in between your ears, right? I tell people all the time, you're going to be in my skull, if you're going to be behind my eyeballs in my head, you got to pay rent. And the rent's expensive to be here, right? Because I got big goals, big dreams, big ambitions. You better be in some deep pockets. You got to be really vested in me in order to be able to occupy space in my mind. But look, here's the thing. Your family and friends just aren't necessarily going to be gung-ho about what you're doing. And it's for a couple reasons. Number one, look, when you make the decision to do something different, your family is looking at you sideways because you're becoming a different person. Right? You're adopting different attitudes, you're adopting different beliefs, you're moving differently. So your family automatically is going to be looking at you like this person is trying to be brand new. You're trying to be a different person. And it's human nature, right? If you look at human history, how do we react when we see something novel, when we see something new, when we see something that makes us uncomfortable, right? You know where I'm going with this. It's human nature. We either attack the things we don't understand or we shun them. And so by you choosing to operate differently, you're putting yourself in a position where initially your family and friends are going to kind of shun you a little bit. They're going to play you to the post and like, you can miss me with all that because you're trying to be a different person. Look, your family and your friends, those who love you don't want to see you starve, right? Those who love you don't want to see you starve. They don't want to see you fail, right? They don't want to see you fail to the point where you can't eat, sleep, can't take care of yourself. But on the flip side of it, they also don't want to see you win. I know it's bad, right? But I'm just being real. The people who are closest to you oftentimes don't want to see you win. They don't want to see you live your best life. They don't want to see you live in your power because it makes them feel mediocre. That they weren't willing to make the sacrifice, that they weren't willing to make the changes, that they weren't willing to do the things that you're willing to do to be successful. Successful people do things that unsuccessful people are unwilling to do. And when you're getting it in, when you're going as hard as you possibly can, when you're willing to go through the pain, right? Because people get it twisted about entrepreneurship in particular, right? They're watching too many Facebook, Instagram, YouTube videos. Look, just because you choose to be an entrepreneur does not mean your life is going to get easier. Matter of fact, it means you've chosen a life of sacrifice. You got to give up some things in order to go up. And your family and friends are going to look at you sideways for that. Like, why don't you go to sleep at 9, 10 o'clock? What are you doing where you're up until 12, 1 o'clock? 5 a.m., wake up. What's that all about? You don't have to be at work until 8. What you doing that for? Right? Come out here and bowl with us. Come out here and get our steak and egg and foodie pics on, right? Come out here and do all this other stuff. Things that have nothing to do with you living your best life and being successful. People are going to challenge you on those things because, once again, you're making a decision to be different. And once again, people just don't like change. Don't take it personal. It's just human nature. It is what it is, right? And so because of this uncomfortableness that you're going to have to go through, people are going to, look, I would never diss the people I grew up with. I would never diss the people who've been around me. I would never diss the people who fed me, or never diss the people that, I had good times with. But sometimes you have to distance yourself, right? And the bottom line is, as I share it with my friend, look, man, you can't let people who ultimately are going to be stagehands in your story take center stage. We spend too much time being concerned about what other people think about us. And it's interesting, right? Because if you think about the Oprah Winfreys, if you think about the Williams sisters, I was just looking at an article about Serena Williams and Venus Williams finally getting ready to retire. I shouldn't say finally getting ready to retire. That came out all wrong. Who wants them to retire? Nobody, right? They're beautiful out on the court. They're artists out there. But you get my point, right? So they're getting ready to retire. And I remember, people embrace the Williams sisters now, but I remember when they first came out, people talked about them like they were dogs. They called them ugly, talked about the braids, talked about the nature of their clothing, talked about their style of play. They roasted them, right? I remember pictures of Purple Oprah, okay? I remember Bezos, what he looked like when he first started out Amazon, and people were making fun of him sitting in a Papazon, right? Looking like God knows what and who did it. I remember seeing pictures of him working in the closet, working in the office. You don't think their family members and friends told them, what in the world are you doing? Who are you to think you could be famous and become a billionaire and build a brand across national television? Not you, Purple Oprah, right? Did you look at the early picture of Bezos? Look how people dogged Serena and Venus when they first started out. This is part of the process, and you're going to have to just go through it, right? People are going to try to alienate you. They're going to try to knock you off your square. And I'm sharing this with you because you got to expect it. You got to know that it's there, right? You got to expect that it's going to happen. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to hate on you. It doesn't mean that everybody's not going to come along the ride. It doesn't mean that everybody is not going to be supportive of you. But don't be surprised when some people don't, right? Because this is what I believe too. And I usually don't get religious. I'm not a religious person, so to speak, right? But, I am a person of faith. And I believe God wants us to have the things that we pray for and that we want in our hearts, right? But what I also understand and what I know is this, that sometimes we have people around us and we have habits that aren't for what we've been praying for. There's a door that we can walk through, and God's not going to let us walk through that door if we're carrying people who aren't supposed to be sharing in that blessing. And if we're carrying habits that, quite frankly, won't lend us to live our best lives and enjoy that blessing. You got to let this stuff go, and it's tough, right? To look yourself in the mirror and say, I got to change. I got to do different. But it's just part of the process. And once again, you just have to accept that other people just aren't going to be along from the ride. The climb is tough. The air gets thinner, right? When you're climbing, the air gets thinner. Some people can't stand it. Some people get broken by the climb. And you're not being lonely on the climb up. You're just making new friends. Right? You look to the left and to the right, and some of the people who were there in the beginning just couldn't make the climb. They didn't have the stamina. They got fatigued. Right? They didn't want what you want. They weren't for the things you were for. And so what you end up doing is you start making friends with people who are for those things. You start befriending individuals who want the things you want. You start befriending people who have the stamina and the willpower to go after and get theirs, right? That's what ends up happening. And so, one of the things that I encourage him to do, and one of the things I encourage everyone to do, is ask yourself one simple question, right? Because you have people around you and they're making you feel some kind of way, or you're feeling some kind of way because of other people's opinions, or how people feel about you, or what they say about you. This is the question I want you to ask yourself, and this is so important. The question I want you to ask yourself is this. I want you to ask yourself, what does your best life look like? Not a good life, not an okay life, but your best life. What does your best life look like 5, 10, 20 years from now? Your best life, the one that you can imagine, the one that makes you smile, the one that makes you giddy like a kid, like it makes you, the type of life where you'd be embarrassed if people saw you, you'd be wiggling your toes thinking about it, right? What does that best life look like? And I want you to ask yourself, what are you doing in that best life? Who are the people who are there in your best life? Who are the people who are with you arm in arm? Who are the people who are with you hook or crook? 100,000 grand, they're your friend. Who are those people? Who are the people that you haven't met yet that you want to meet that are going to be part of your best life? What kind of people are they going to be? How are they going to spend their time? What are the things they're going to talk about? What are the activities or hobbies, or what are the things that motivate them? The books they like to read, the movies they like to see, the places they like to go. Who are these people? And this is what I guarantee. The stagehands that are heckling you probably aren't part of your best life. They're probably not part of your best life. Right? And that's what I mean. That's why you can't let the stagehands take center stage in your life. Because they're not going to be part of your best life. The people who are not for you, the people who don't support you, the people who are feeling some kind of way about you living in your power, chances are when you think about your best life, they're not there. And they're not going to be there. Right? And how do you make sure that you're always focused on your best life? How do you make sure that you're not thrown off track? You don't let the stagehands throw you off your journey, right? Well, the first thing you want to do, once again, is you want to take time and craft that vision, right? Ask yourself, what are you going to be doing when you wake up in the morning? Ask yourself, what are you going to be doing during the day? What type of work are you going to do? How are you going to be helping people? You have gifts. You have a power. How are you going to be sharing it? How's that going to manifest? Ask yourself those questions, right? What are the things you're going to be, where are you going to be hanging out at? What kind of house you're going to live in? What kind of car you're going to live in? Look, people we got a weird relationship with money. Look, I'm about to go there. Forget the weird relationship with money. Look, in order to to live in the right zip code, in order to put your kids in the right school, in order to travel to the places you want to travel to, in order to eat the type of foods you feel like you deserve to eat, it requires money. So let's get that out the way. So let's talk about that, right? Where are you going to be living? What are you going to be eating? What are you going to be driving, right? How are you going to be spending your time? Imagine that from morning until night, week to week, month to month, right? What type of companies you're going to start, or what type of endeavors are you going to support? If that makes your heart beat faster in terms of helping other people level up, how are you going to use your gifts and your power to do that, right? Whatever it may be, ask yourself, what's that best life? Because here's the thing, you can't put your life's energies behind a compromise. Right? Your head and your heart, when they're not aligned, it's trouble, man. You're just not going to have the energy. You're not going to have stamina to do what you need to do. So the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what is your best life? What does that mean to you? And don't let other people's thoughts or ideals crowd you. Right? What does it mean to you? What really gives you, what makes you excited? For me, I can imagine a world where I'm sitting on a porch somewhere in St. Kitts, waking up first thing in the morning, watching the sun come up, sipping on some juice, reading a book, and watching my grandchildren run around my house. That would be like nirvana for me, right? It's different for everybody. What does that mean for you, right? Answer that question for yourself, okay? Now, once you do that, then you set your goals. See, if you're having a hard time achieving your goals, if you're having a hard time crafting affirmations, 9 times out of 10, because you don't know what you're taking aim at. You haven't created a vision for yourself. You don't have a target. Right? So you're writing down goals and you're writing down affirmations, but those affirmations and goals aren't grounded in anything. And so it's hard for you to get traction. It's hard for you to take aim at something. It's hard for you to get up and do the work, right? Because you're going to live a life of satisfaction. That's a Greco-Roman word, if I recall correctly. Yes, satisfaction is a Greco-Roman word. The key, satis means enough. The prefix satis means enough. The suffix action, satisfaction, right? Well, you got to be willing to take enough action to live a life of satisfaction. In other words, it requires work, right? The common denominator is success in anything that we do. Doesn't matter how talented you are. Doesn't matter how intelligent you are. We all catch that L, okay? We all aren't going to succeed and achieve every single time. We're not going to win every single time. So there's going to be some work required. You got to learn how to fall forward, right? Or fail forward, as people say. But in any respect, you got to find that vision so you can write down goals and write down affirmations that are reflective of that. And you got to keep those things in your face. When someone says something negative to you, you should be able to pull your affirmations or your goals right out of your phone. When you wake up in the morning, you should have a journal, or with me, a Franklin planner, or some type of tool or tablet where you're looking at your affirmations and goals. When you fall on your face, when you get sick and tired, when you don't feel like doing it anymore, you got to put those affirmations and those goals right there, right? You want to make sure that you are like zoned in all the time on your thing, right? And some people may mistake this for being selfish. No, it's not. Because you can't turn around and help other people until you get to the point where you've empowered yourself enough where you have something to give. If you have nothing to give, you can't help out anyone else, right? Two sinking ships, can't save each other. So you got to put yourself on a path where you're achieving your goals. You're doing the things that matter most to you. So you can have the resources, so you can have the wherewithal to turn around and help those whom you love, know, and trust. Those people who really matter, right? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, when you're on your last days, those are the memories that are going to matter the most. Those are the things that are going to matter the most. It's not going to be the stagehands. It's not even going to be the things, right? It's going to be who are the people that poured into you and who are the people you were able to pour into, right? 9 times out of 10, that's what the stuff life is made out of. It's those answers to those 2 questions. Who poured into you and who were you able to pour into, right? So I wanted to share that because I come across too many individuals right now who are feeling some kind of way about themselves. And 9 times out of 10, when I hear that, that tells me a couple things. Number one, like I said, you're letting the stagehands take center stage. No, can't let those people take center stage. The people who are for you and the people who are going to be in that story, that narrative that you're creating for yourself in terms of your best life, you got to let those people take center stage. And maybe they're not in your life yet, but you got to make space for them, right? It's like a person that's in a bad relationship. You stay in a bad relationship because you're accustomed to it, right? But at the end of the day, you got to know that sometimes you got to let that bad relationship go so a good one can come in, right? It's going to be the same thing with the circle and the people you hang around. Sometimes you got to make space for the right people. You got to jettison the folks, right, who are meant to take center stage with you. So I just wanted to share that. It was on my mind. That conversation with that gentleman, I wouldn't say it didn't shake me or anything like that, but it got me thinking really hard enough to motivate me to do this. So everyone, as always, I celebrate your success in advance. Everyone have a fantastic evening. Goodbye for now. Hey, what's up, Tisker? Thank you for the wave.